All right, our pal Bjorn Lomborg, who has become a cult figure on this issue, he wants deregulation, innovation, and economic growth to solve, I'm just going to call it the climate. And he joins us now, president of the Copenhagen Consensus and visiting fellow at the Hoover Institution. Bjorn, as always, so let me just run this up the flagpole. Boris Johnson says it's a doomsday problem. The UN Secretary General Guterres, we are killing ourselves with carbon. You got to love that stuff. Doomsday, killing ourselves.
And look, Larry, if this was true, obviously we should just spend everything to fix climate change. But it's not the reality. The UN Climate Panel tells us global warming is a problem, but it's also a manageable problem. They tell us if we do nothing about climate change, by the end of the century, the cost will be equivalent to 2.6% of our GDP. Remember, by then, GDP per person will be much, much bigger, 350% bigger. So yes, it'll not be quite as big, only 334% bigger than it is today. Per person, that's still very, very good, but slightly smaller and hence slight problem.
I want to get to your discussion about William Nordhaus, who is a very smart guy. But one other point, Bjorn. China is dissing this whole thing, and China is intent on generating coal because they need coal. Now, I just find that, I don't know what the right word is, ironic or unsurprising, but these crazy targets, you know, John Kerry says yesterday or the day before, there's not going to be any coal by 2030. We're going to be carbon-free by 2035. No sane person, no reasonable person buys that stuff.
Well, fundamentally, John Kerry hasn't cleared that with the electorate in the U.S. Obviously, when the cost comes in, and that cost is going to be, 3, 4, 5% of U.S. GDP, nobody's going to reelect politicians who do that. Now, if you can find a way to do this much cheaper, they might. But that's not going to happen in the U.S. And of course, it's not going to happen in China. And remember, China has gone from back in the 1970s, they got 40% of their energy from renewable energy because they were poor. One of the ways you know that people are getting rich is because they use a lot of energy, and most of that comes from fossil fuels. Now, when you get rich enough, you can also start affording to subsidize ineffective and unreliable sources like solar and wind.
Well, of course, you repeatedly talk about innovation, deregulation, and economic growth, which are such great themes, because nobody in this space, nobody talks about those kinds of themes. So you're applying great principles. Now, Mr. Nordhaus, William Nordhaus, I think he taught at Yale for a good amount of years. He has a middle ground that you like. Could you just briefly tell us what his middle ground is?
Yes. So he got the Nobel Prize in climate economics for making 2 points, very simple points. Global warming has a cost, and that's real, but global warming policies also have a cost. You can't just ignore one of them and just say, oh my God, climate is terrible, so we got to do everything. You also got to realize the more you do with climate policy, the more costly it is. What he finds is if you try to minimize the sum of both, because we have to pay both, you should do some, but not too much to tackle global warming. That's the crucial bit, to recognize we should do more than what we're doing today, but we shouldn't go all in like most people seem to suggest and say, go net zero. That's vastly inefficient and vastly a way to make sure the future gets higher bills, not lower bills.
Last one, Bjorn. So you're observing and writing about this Glasgow conference. What's coming out of this in a nutshell? I mean, I know China's walking away, Russia's walking away. John Kerry is sucked into every stupid left-wing cliche in the business. But what's coming out of this? Anything we should really think about?
It's hard to know, Larry, because they keep negotiating about all these things. There's going to be some useful movement on methane. Methane is actually very cheap, or some of the parts can be a very cheap way of getting some climate benefits, so that may actually be good. Lots of hot air. Remember, we've had 25 summits before this, and all of the promises that we've made, almost none of them have come true. The UN says it can't tell the difference in the last decade from not caring about climate at all and what we actually did. So remember, although we promised Paris, we promised many other things, very little of it has happened. So I think it's not really about what will happen in Glasgow. What it is about is what will innovation bring? Because if we can innovate cheap green energy down below the cost of fossil fuels, everyone will switch. That's what's going to fix climate change.
Can we innovate? Just another one on this. Look, you're so good on it. Can we innovate clean burning natural gas? Can we innovate coal? Is there any hope left for coal? Can we innovate nuclear?
Yeah, so there's some points and you could innovate ways to carbon capture, but it's always just going to make coal more expensive. Yes, fourth generation nuclear. Fusion as well. There are lots of great ideas out there. We should be investing in all of those ideas because it's not about one of them. It's about making sure we have this great palette of opportunities. And if just one of them actually ends up working, that's what's going to power the rest of the 21st century.
Great stuff. I'm telling you, folks, Bjorn Lomborg is a cult figure on this. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Bjorn. We will talk to you soon.